We on.
Hello. So welcome to final version 1. We don't know what's going to happen yet, but it's the first episode, so hang on tight. Today, we're starting with the basics. Martin, are you here?
I am here.
Can you tell us who you are?
Yes, my name is Martin Splitt. I work for the Google Search Relations team in Zurich. And you are? Would you like to introduce yourself, Miriam?
My name is Myriam Gessier, or if you speak English, it's Miriam, or you could try the Myriam in French. I have a first challenge for you, Martin, actually.
Oh, no. What is it?
So, little anecdote. I did get a marketing director job with a Chinese portrait. Do you know what a Chinese portrait is?
I have no idea what a Chinese portrait is.
It's a way to introduce yourself. It's a way to talk about yourself in different ways. So it's a marketing technique. It's a real one where you get creative and you talk about a product in different ways. So let me product myself.
Okay.
My name is Myriam and my Chinese portrait is, well, if I was a food, I would be wasabi mayonnaise. The reason why is it's smooth and mayonnaise is something French people make quite well, and I'm French, and I grew up in Hawaii. So wasabi is a big thing there, and if you mix the two, it's absolutely amazing. It's smooth, but it has a kick. So that's why I chose it. And if I was a book, it would be Aloha from Hell by Richard Cadret for the same reason. I couldn't wait to get off this island. It's beautiful. I love the Oahu, but I much prefer to actually travel the world. And if I was a shoe, I would be a cool pair of Doc Martens boots. The reason why is I live in Canada and I don't like slipping and I don't like big chunky snowshoes. If I was a museum piece, I'd be Otto the T-Rex. It's the best T-Rex most of you have never heard about. It's a black T-Rex. It's beautiful and it's just beautifully preserved. I love dinosaurs in museums, as you can tell. So that was a must for me. And if I was a kitchen appliance, I would be a Ninja blender. It's a blender that's guaranteed to make any ice turn into snow in 30 seconds, which I find amazing because this claim to fame is used to sell them in Canada, which almost half of the year I get snow in under 30 seconds if I'm patient. So it made me giggle and I thought, perfect for me. Now, I'm going to be asking you the same questions, Martin.
Gee,
are you ready?
That's amazing. Yes, I'm ready.
So I have it ready and I want to know, if you were a food, what would you be?
I think I'd be asparagus because A, that's very popular in the region where I come from. It is a bit weird. It's hard to describe the taste. I think I'm a little tricky to describe at times because sometimes I have long hair, sometimes I have colorful hair, sometimes I have short hair. Sometimes I'm just weird and I'm a nerd as well. So I think asparagus kind of fits that description.
I think it goes great with mayonnaise as well. So just let it know.
It does, yeah.
Now, if you were a book.
I think The Hitchhiker's Guide Through the Galaxy, because Don't Panic is pretty much my vibe and mood most of the time. And I think that fits.
I think this is perfect. I just have to say, though, you in German and you in English is two different things. You not panicking in English and you not panicking in German, two different experiences. I hope some of the people get to experience that.
Can you elaborate on that? I mean,
yes. You not panicking in German sounds like you are going to be deciding which train is coming onto the railway, even though there's a problem. Everything is smooth. You're just, or the guy signaling the planes, like it's very put together. It sounds scientific. You in English sounds very reasonable. Like, let's get along.
True. There was this Korean restaurant situation, wasn't there?
Yes, absolutely. And that one will be for another episode, though, because yes. I have my next question. So if you were a shoe,
probably a flip-flop because I like summer and warm and water, and that's kind of convenient in a flip-flop.
So, having lived in Hawaii, I must ask you, the cheap flippy floppies or the good ones?
Oh, the good ones, because the cheap ones are super annoying.
And
for so many. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That happened to me while I was in the water. I'm like slip, and it's like no.
Yes,
And
you
yeah,
lose the top. So I realize that both of us have been mimicking movements. So for people who can't see us for some reason, I'm just going to say it. I love accessibility. So here's the alt to our movements. It's that thing when the flip-flop just decides to separate itself. It secedes. The top secedes from the bottom, and that's it. And it's terrible.
It's terrible indeed.
If you were a museum piece.
If I were a museum piece, I would probably be a Commodore 64. Super fallen out of time, still works. You can still pretty much do everything you want to do on it, and you have lots of opportunities and capacity, but like not as much as others. And like the time has clearly moved on, but I'm still around.
So you should know that we love tech museums. Me and my husband go every time we go to a city. I check out if there's a technological museum somewhere, and yes, I agree. And I would go and see you. Agree. So last but not least, if you were a kitchen appliance.
Rice cooker, I think, because they are kind of magical and they work fantastically well, even though they're, I assume, I don't know exactly what they're made of and what's inside them, but they're relatively simple, I think, and they're so versatile and useful and powerful, and it's amazing.
I never looked into it, but I'm going to give you a lead. This is a theory at home. We haven't tested it. We think there's a scale involved. That's it.
I
We
think
have
that
gone
is
this far in the
reasonable.
magic.
but I love it. Like, it works so well. It's amazing. I love this piece of technology.
Absolutely.
At first, when we got one, my wife was like, I really want a rice cooker. I'm like, why? You just boil hot water, you put rice in there. So she's like, you have no idea. And then she explained the concept of rice cookers to me, and I'm like, I don't fully understand, but I'm in love with this idea. Let's get one. And we have one, and I have never regretted this.
I'm going to tell you something else about Hawaii. Oh my goodness, I haven't spoken this much about Hawaii in forever. But people used to come to Hawaii and actually take the good rice cookers. They would buy them on the island and take them back with them wherever they lived. And we never figured out why with my brother. And I finally got one of these because I know the brand, like from Japan, etc. And they have this thing where it's ceramic or clay, I don't know, but it's not a metal bowl, and it can actually cook like clay pot rice, so it burns at the bottom, like it absorbs the flavors and everything. Yes, fancy. It makes porridge. It actually makes everything. You program your life with it, and now I get it. Like I've transcended the basic rice cooker situation and moved up in life to I ascended to that level, and I do not regret it. So just letting you know, next Christmas. No, because these things are fancy.
Yeah, so, I do keep this in mind now.
I could go on for hours. I love this thing. Like, it's my favorite purchase of the pandemic. Because I had a good one, and it was already ceramic, etc. But when it broke, sadly, we had to order a new one, and we had to upgrade because not everything is available. So that was a fortuitous event. Now, I must move on. To ask you a question. This is up for debate.
Okay.
If you were to do the Chinese portrait of search engine optimization, what would it be? So I'm going to cheat. I have the answer for the first one. If SEO was a food, what would it be? I'm calling it a hot dog. Figure out if it's a sandwich or not.
Yeah, that's
up in the air.
I stand with the cube rule of food identification that I think you showed me. I am 100% in line with that. Yes.
Absolutely. So we debate these strange questions about search engines quite often together. We just don't make it public, and now's the time.
Now is the time.
So my next question, and I tweaked that one a bit. This one is for you. If SEO was a diving metaphor, what would it be?
Oh, low visibility deep dive.
You know what? That's a very good one. But tell me why.
Because if you are like, there's lots of people who think they can dive and they know how to dive. And that's because they have always gone to tropical locations where you have like 30 meters or 100 feet visibility. So you basically see everything. You can see the bottom from the top. You can see the top from the bottom. and they think they know everything because they have like 1,000 dives and they've done this literally 1,000 times, and how hard can this be? And then they come to a low visibility Swiss lake, for instance, in the summer, and they realize that no, they don't have it under control because the visibility is like this. So you see from your eye maybe to your end of your nose. Maybe if you extend the finger, you can see like somewhere on the finger, but then everything that is further away is basically in the dark. And I think in SEO, you often have to deal with situations like this. And there's lots of people like, SEO is easy. I've done this a bazillion times. And then they find out it actually can be more complicated.
I think you're talking about this from a very rational and logical standpoint, as if the people already had the equipment on them and knew how to put it on. I remember an anecdote. You have to go in with weights, right, when you want to go down. Mm-hmm. But what if the weights are not evenly distributed? What happens?
Oh, that's beautiful. It looks quite funny because like it depends a little bit on how bad the misdistribution is. If it's not too much, then you can kind of like compensate for it. It happened to me, so I know that you can compensate it. If you can't, then you just like at some point you're weightless, and then you just slowly start tilting, and eventually you're like, what's happening? Yeah.
So I think that every time I go on Reddit /r/SEO.
Oh God. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is not a low visibility situation. This is a slowly spinning out of control for some folks. And I'm like, you are drowning in data and articles that tell you what to do. And this is slowly spinning out of control. And no matter how hard I try to stop you, to help you out and tell you, hey, 15 years of experience speaking here, chill out. Let's look at this way. No, it's too late, too far gone. So I think these two metaphors, they're perfect. That's why I love diving for this, because it's so surreal to explain, okay, what do you do for a living? Have you tried explaining to your mother what you do for a living?
I stopped I'm doing stuff with computers, to be honest.
I've been trying over the years, and my mom actually takes notes to go brag to the neighbor. Except that since I'm a consultant, I have a lot of clients. So she's bragging about these jointed bits and pieces about AR, VR, images, e-commerce, and it's very interesting. And I'm not saying that she doesn't have the ability to understand. It's just that it's so weird. It changes so much when you talk about SEO. It's complicated.
Same with developer relations. Like, so you're programming. Yes. So you're a programmer? Not really. I also do program, but I also talk to people. So what exactly are you doing? Oh, it's complicated.
Oh, yes. That was one of my interviews at a big startup here. They kept trying to have me explain what I do. And I was like, I can read code, but you don't want me to write it. I can pinpoint the problems, but once again, you don't want me to fix them. It was very weird. So next one for you. If SEO was a human language, what would it be?
Probably English, because I think English as a language is just like 3 languages in a trench coat.
Yes, absolutely. And the maps of Britain, I saw a video explaining this. The names are just all over the place, and they're never pronounced correctly because you don't know the history of it. So too bad. Personally, I think if SEO was a language, I'm ambivalent because I know that it could be like French, because people go, oh, what is that you were speaking? It's so beautiful. And you're like, I just said I have to take out my trash can. This is a true story. So, it could be a thing where whenever people understand what I do, their eyes light up and they're like, I can make money with you. It also could be like Hungarian for one good reason. I was told by somebody who spoke Russian, if there is a language they speak in hell, it's Hungarian. It's just so complicated that it is hellish. And while I disagree because I speak it, my husband confirms, and also the alphabet and the keyboard for the Hungarian language confirm that it is very unusual. So I thought it could be so many things for so many reasons. And ultimately, it must be Esperanto, the language that mixes all the languages together.
Because I was thinking about Esperanto, yeah.
But let us not forget, I agree fully with you. English is 3 languages in a trench coat. I think this should be entered somewhere. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm moving on to the same thing, but an area of comfort for you. Tell me, How would you do the Chinese portrait for JavaScript?
How would I do the
What
Chinese
animal
portrait?
is it?
What animal is it? JavaScript. Probably like a platypus. It's weird. It kind of does things. It kind of is in every category in a certain amount of, yeah.
You don't know something, I think. They have been very recently studied, and a study has been published confirming that they also fucking glow in the dark.
They glow in the dark.
Yes, please Google that right now and confirm. Just go
No
Google
way.
it.
You heard it here first. For
If it's a
real?
scam, I don't care. It's as good as this old North Korean scam of North Korea many, many years ago had a huge press conference to announce that they had found unicorn eggs.
Shit.
So,
okay.
hold on. Platypus.
I see it on National Geographic. So either it is a ridiculously good hoax.
I mean, I started looking into it, then I got distracted by life, and I couldn't go into detail.
But it says November 11th, so it can't just be an April's Fool unless they like everything has been.
The fur of the platypus glows under black light.
Under black light, yeah.
So, you know what? I was going to tell you that I think that I always describe it. I think you remember this JavaScript as an octopus because the earthworm and the octopus share the same DNA, but you can stretch it that much to create that type of thing. So for me, JavaScript is like, okay, so you can do wonderful things with it. That's my animal thing, and then it's not because you can in JavaScript that you should. So I'm ambivalent. I think platypus fits best. Glow in the dark wins.
It's a bit of everything, and it also glows in the dark. Yeah. It can also probably bite your fingers, I guess.
Yeah, I think this is perfect. I think it does a bit of everything and glows in the dark is a perfect description for JavaScript. The reason why I'm asking you this is, well, this is how we met. I mean, through conferences and debating certain things. And JavaScript is a big portion of SEO. And even though nobody has to be technical to practice SEO, being aware of certain obstacles that JavaScript will put in your way if it's not monitored is important to face it and go, okay, we're now stuck with this. What can I do to improve? If this is not my area, what is my zone of power to overcome this and make it complete with something else? So that was my big point about JavaScript. It may come back in our conversations. Just warning. So now we are ready for the next portion of the show. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So I sometimes go on Wikipedia and check the Googlebot page in French. Don't do that. It hurts. So I've been trying to improve certain things, and then I get told, well, you need to quote this official documentation. And I'm like, but in this specific case, there is no official documentation. It's probably just a YouTube link or something, and then people are unhappy. So I decided to look into it from a different standpoint and wonder what people want to know about certain SEO aspects, and not from an encyclopedia, but how would people actually ask about things? So I have some serious questions for you. And I also have some serious questions for you that cannot be addressed in official documentation because it's not necessarily always proper English or proper terminology or just proper. So now's the time to talk about it. When I went into google.ca a few days ago and typed Googlebot, this is what came to me, Martin, and I must ask you about it. Do you have documentation on how do I use Googlebot?
No, I don't think we have documentation for that. No.
You know why? Because we don't use Googlebot. No. I think Googlebot comes and, checks our content. But what is the official answer according to you?
How to use Googlebot? Let it just use your website. You don't have to use it.
So
it just does its thing.
I'm thinking, and I have not analyzed this, by the way, I'm thinking that people really want to know, okay, how is Googlebot going to help me? So Googlebot can only help you in as far as discovering your content, understanding it a bit, and bringing it home to Google, right?
Yeah.
So I think we have answered that question.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you don't have
If
to
we
use
were
it.
to answer it in meme terms, I would say you don't use Googlebot. Googlebot uses you.
Oh yeah.
So now moving on. Now that we have posed a real threat, what is Googlebot in SEO? Not at large in SEO.
What is Googlebot in SEO? A source of wonder, I think. Yeah.
I think it's a gatekeeper.
It's a gatekeeper. It's a good one.
Let me tell you why. I genuinely had this as a query when I worked in a development center. A city in Quebec, Canada, came to us, and their one requirement for SEO was we must have our website indexed by Google. Googlebot must be able to enter our website. The reason why is because the city decided to invest in a public facing website online available made with SharePoint.
Okay.
So back in the day, almost 10 years ago, SharePoint was so heavy because they had modified it and they had done things internally for their intranet and decided to install an extranet, a website on their existing SharePoint. So Google bot could not enter, simply just could not show up. That was their one SEO requirement. We have to be indexed.
Okay.
Yes, it gets
a very low bar.
Yes, I was amazed.
That's
So now I must ask you, how do I make a Google bot?
How do you make a Google bot? You sprinkle some of the Google magic onto servers, and you can use any off-the-shelf standard servers. And then a radioactive little spider, unofficially called Dex, needs to crawl into that server, and then a Google bot might emerge after a couple of days. That's how you make a Google bot.
We cannot replicate a Google bot, but some SEO companies do try. I know that I have seen this, so I'm trying to understand why would someone want to make a Google bot. But if you want to pretend you're a Google bot, you can do that via, a little tweak to your user agent. It's supposed to replicate it, right?
It is an incomplete replication. I think, I understand why SEO companies do that.
You missed the cooking time after a few days. Not precise enough.
No, okay. You can also, I'm not sure if you can find the design files, but if you have a 3D printer, you can also 3D print a Googlebot, I think.
You can what?
You can 3D print a Googlebot, I think.
Oh,
John does that.
Can I have one?
I think so, yeah. Next time.
Okay. So
I'll bring you a Googlebot.
How do I make a Googlebot should be answered by John. I have been asking the wrong question to the wrong.
John Miller is the guy who makes Googlebots every now and then. Yes.
And for those who don't know, who is John?
John Miller is such a lovely, friendly, amazing gentleman. I'm so happy to work with him. He's my boss, and even though he would not call himself my boss, he is the head of the search relations team at Google and has been doing this for lots of years. I think like over 10 years at this point.
The one thing I really, really think we should highlight, if you ever need some good, solid cheese advice, go to him.
Oh, yeah.
I have been very pleased with that. I am a cheese person.
He's been in this team for 13 years now. Interesting.
That's as long as my marriage. That's a relationship at this point. I think he should get. Wait, what is the wedding anniversary gift for 13 years?
I don't know.
You should get that. So I'm going to move on to another topic. Mm-hmm. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Alors, how can I tell if Google is crawling my website? That's a basic one.
You can check your search logs, your server logs, or you can use Google Search Console.
If you are not a technical person, you should head on to Google Search Console.
If you're not Search Console, and probably also our documentation to understand a little bit of what's going on, I think.
Absolutely. What I like about Google Search Console is that it has a tool where you can check this. Getting the logs has been an issue for me in the past. Very often
Oh,
I would have to battle it out to get the logs, and then I would get them 3 weeks later. And it would,
yeah,
yeah. So that's
yeah.
why I want to discuss these realities. I know that you can get the logs. Me, I may need to negotiate a bit. So
Fair enough.
tell me, how often does Google crawl your site? And I don't mean anybody's site, I mean your website. So tell us
Your
about your
side.
website.
Actually, hold on. I can double check how often does it. So if I go to search.google.com, search console, and which of the two, like my blog or my diving website?
Well, which one do you want to talk about?
Just gonna take the diving website because it's less well indexed. Because I don't really care, to be honest. In the last 90 days, I got 897 crawl requests. So
Nice. And just out of curiosity, if we compare with your blog, can you tell us what the
oh
difference is?
god, okay, let's see. My blog got 2,000.
Why do you think there's a difference? You said you optimized one a bit more than the other, but do you think that the industry maybe changes, the sector, the
I
topic?
think it might be the industry. It might also be that the information. So on the dive website, there is. Whoa! I just unplugged myself. That's fantastic. That's good job, Martin.
How did you do?
On the dive website, there is just like mostly pictures and a few reports of the dive sites where there's a low volume, low interest in the topics, I think. And the other thing is probably also there's like lots of competing good content. Whereas on the blog, I basically write from my own perspective. So basically, I figured something out in technology, which by default has a larger search volume, I would assume. And then these are very in-depth, very specific things. And I look a little bit into how are people dealing with the same problems that I cover, phrasing the question. And so I think like it's the optimization plus the volume of search traffic, and also the blog is a lot larger. It has lots more articles that are also indexed and ranking well, whereas the dive website is relatively new, really small, not that much content on it.
I think there's another element that needs to be talked about. Are you more famous for your tech knowledge?
Oh god, yeah.
Really?
I'm definitely,
Sure.
yeah. It's definitely the technical side of things. Yeah, I think like Martin Split and then some technical question is probably popping up much more often than diving specifically. Yeah.
And I think it's really great to highlight this as well. Like, I know a lot of people stress about this. How often does Google visit my website? It's a great question, but how often do humans visit your website and find it useful is something that's really, really important to me. And very often I find myself looking at the data and I understand that I don't have all the pieces because something is missing. That missing element is the human element. So I've had something like this. I'm going to expand on it because I think you may enjoy it. Someone decided a few years ago to have a micro website for a contest during Christmas. Yes, you know, micro websites that have a domain name that nobody remembers and that die after 3 months. Yes.
That's amazing.
I was asked to do SEO for this. And I refused because I told them, what do you want me to do? Just what is there to do? Do you want to take my hours and give them to a Google Ads specialist? Or do you want me? I also am certified in Google Ads. So I was like, do you want me to do this? But that's, you have one in-house, so go for it. And I was told, no. Client wants SEO. Okay. So I optimized the utter shit out of this website for one query, the brand name. All I wanted to do is make sure that this contest, when they searched for it in Google, would show up.
Oh my.
Wait, hang on, sir. So big radio ads come out. Big bus ads come out. Everything comes out for this. We tracked everything. And the biggest, 70% of the visits came from SEO. The reason why is because people would literally go from the radio and type the thing in their browser. And, you know, when you're on mobile, you will search for something and it doesn't send you to the website. It sends you to a search result. So in the end, they turned out to be right, but for the wrong reasons. And this is that human element. I mean, thank goodness I my only objective for humans was find the darn thing when you search for it. That's it. But you know, it's a low bar, but this it matters. It
It
really
matters.
does matter. Would I do it again? No. Did I make them pay a lot for this? Yes. Just because I did not see the point. But let us move on to the next one.
Okay.
I had one that is, wait, where did it go? Oh. How do you know if you have a Google bot?
How do you know if you have a Google bot? So,
You don't have one.
I mean, unless you have a little figurine, then you just like check where the figurine is normally standing, and if it's still there, then you do have a Google bot. If it has disappeared, then someone either removed it or it has wandered off.
So we can actually order these online, right?
No, unfortunately not.
Ooh, so
We need to make that official merge, but I'm not sure what the process is for that.
We should Google that later.
We should Google that later.
So, what do Google bots look for?
Websites.
That's it.
I think so, yeah. I mean, documents on the web, really. It could be PDF documents, Lotus Notes, images, videos.
I'm going to take an opportunity to say something. Very often, when you have a wall of PDF as the search results, you have a shot at writing a good article and showing up, because it means that there's too much scientific stuff on there or too much administrative stuff. And it's also something like, oh, nobody really cares about this. Let's throw a PDF in there. How do you feel about
that? Yeah. No, that's a good point. If the only information we can find is in PDF form, then there's a good chance to make it if you have a more descriptive and relevant article to offer. Yeah.
And I have a nomenclature question for you.
Oh.
How do I know if a bot is crawling on my website? Not my website, not in my website.
On my website. Oh, I love that. It's a very specific question, though, isn't it?
Well, it's the parallel between the spider crawling on my arm and the spider crawling on my website makes me laugh. But genuinely, I don't know if this is the right term. I never thought of it this way.
I've never heard it being phrased like that. So that's definitely an unusual one. I think you could argue that it is crawling on someone's website if it starts with one page and then like proceeds to another page on the same website. So you could say, like, if you see a crawl for one page and then shortly thereafter you see a crawl on the next page, then it's probably that's the time frame when it's crawling on your website.
You know what? I'm going to ask you a query that just popped up. It's not in Google, but I have to know. How many legs does Dex have?
I think 8, if I remember correctly.
Okay. So now, if I use this, if this is published somewhere, can I go to Wikipedia and say the spider has 8 legs? Do you think that's going to fly? I'm going to try and tell you in the next episode. Just letting you know.
I'm excited to find that out, because I think we haven't. I'm not sure how easy it is to find sources, because I think like Dex is not allowed to be called Dex for trademark reasons, if I remember correctly. I really do not care, so I'm just going to call it Dex. And then if someone comes up with like, oh, but trademarks, I'll be like, yeah, but it's written differently. And then if they ask me how it's written, I'm like, the way it sounds phonetically. And then they're like, what does that mean? I'm like, well, you figure that one out, but it's not the same as yours.
I must introduce then something that could make you laugh. It's a French pun. I don't make them very often, but there is a town. Well, I don't know if you've ever heard of Aix-en-Provence.
Not really.
Okay, so it's a town, and it's written A-I-X, and then en Provence, in Provence. Okay. So technically it could be Dex-en-Provence, but technically you could write it the French way. So you could tell them it's spelled the French way.
Oh, that's lovely. I think I'll suggest that. Oh my God,
Now let me move on from the crawling on your website to the next set of questions. I typed in JavaScript SEO, and all I did, I don't know why I wrote test. Don't ask me why. I think it must have been a copy paste from an email I was sending to someone. But the answers popped up nonetheless. So it says, is JavaScript bad for SEO?
I think that's like the thing that I have been fighting with for a long time. JavaScript isn't per se bad for SEO, no.
I think that it's a question of it's the same discussion with pit bulls. Are they bad?
Hmm.
No, you have to have like there's if you're going to deal with the good parts that come from JavaScript, you have to deal with the bad parts and take care of them. That's it.
Yeah.
It's just about being a responsible website owner.
Yes.
So it goes back to it's not because you can that you should. And I remember us working unofficially on a project where the website was having a hard time being indexed for something. I was just giving advice. And then we realized that the way it was built in JavaScript, it actually helped us track everything in the checkout portion because it was done a certain way. And it basically avoided so many problems. You may
Oh,
not
yeah.
remember this, but it was someone named Thomas who had coded this. And we were
Oh,
genuinely surprised that it
oh,
worked
yeah.
well for marketing. It worked
Oh,
well for
yeah.
marketing on an incident. He hadn't thought of it this way. He just built the thing he needed the way he felt was right. And it actually worked well for us.
Oh, yeah. I
So,
remember that. That was before I joined Google. That was fun.
yeah, I think this is one of the first. No, it's not one of the first times I started annoying you with SEO. I think
No, you did not never annoy me with SEO.
no, but I remember you going, this is
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
interesting. Very polite, very, very German. Like, thank you, lady. Thank you. Okay. Now it's getting interesting. Now I'm getting it. Okay. Yes, but maybe not now. So for me it was really nice to see you as a developer go, yes.
The moment of realization, and since that day, I'm fighting to get developers more excited about SEO. Yeah.
And I'm fighting against another notion. It's one of the questions that follows. People are wondering, okay, but then can Google read JavaScript content?
Yes, it actually can read JavaScript content.
And very often I have people who do the opposite. They think that Google knows everything. And I'm like,
Oh,
the way
yeah.
you coded this, the bot cannot get out. You created a bot trap. They're stuck. And then like, no, Google can overcome. And I'm like, please tell me how.
No, exactly. Like, no, if you can build content and websites in a way that bots, including Googlebot, have a hard time. So it's not that they are like omnipotent and nothing can ever not go wrong. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but the problem with this, the way I see it, is kind of like accessibility. It's just treat
Hmm.
those bots like a user, and then you'll be fine. And if a bot can't enter a specific page, it's most likely that somebody who has some type of handicap, their tool may be also stuck. I'm not saying for all situations, but very often it's a red flag to say, hey, we need to review this.
Yeah, definitely.
And does Google use JavaScript?
Yes, we do. YouTube has lots of JavaScript on it. Angular is an entire JavaScript framework written by and maintained by Google and the open source community. We do use JavaScript, yeah.
Okay, and now tell me, since you know JavaScript quite well, how do you use it every day in your work?
Rendertron is written in TypeScript, which is technically a JavaScript superset. So it is JavaScript plus additional stuff, basically. So I use it relatively often. I do have to debug a lot of stuff. I have to write test cases where I use JavaScript. So yeah, I do use JavaScript quite often. Also, like pretty much Google Docs is all JavaScript, so I use that. So I
You know what? I
indirectly
didn't
use.
know that.
I
I
mean,
didn't know that.
it's not Flash, it's not Silverlight. It is definitely using JavaScript to
Oh, no,
do
no,
what
I
it
thought it
does.
was magic. I straight up didn't
Oh
question
yeah.
it. It went along with the rice cooker. Like
Yeah,
it's
like yeah, it's true. Yeah, you have a point. It's magic similar to rice cookers.
the way I love teaching people about some of the basics is to go into Google Docs and tell them, hey, you see that thing that says heading 1? Yeah, you will find that in your WordPress. You will find that in your Shopify. When you write your content, think about that. Like it's literally in there. It's been there all along in your Google Docs. And then people are like, it's been in my toolkit all along. I can do SEO. I'm like, congratulations.
I
So,
like that you're like lowering the barrier to enter. That's a very important thing. The anti-gatekeeper.
you know, I've been doing this for 15 years and I'm bored. The reason why I say I'm bored is there's always lots of new stuff that I can go into, but who can I share it with?
Yeah.
Other people who want to prove to me that they're better than me at what I've been doing for that long, no, I'm chill. I would rather help people improve their businesses, help the new generation. And I feel so sad for developers who are entering, for example, front-end jobs at agencies. They're required to know all this, but nobody teaches them that.
Yeah.
And then they're stuck with Stack Overflow, and it's
or
a
really, really old books were like, yeah, add meta keywords and you'll be fine.
Yeah, and for me, the way I show this is I do the same thing with developers. Going, your client or your copywriter is going to go in Google Docs and deliver this to you. So please, like, they've done the work. Please don't add empty headings and all this, because we are working with you. So yeah, sorry if I'm not. I mean, I get very nerdy and very technical about a lot of things, but I feel that right now what we need is some people that explain what's going on and what's been happening and what machines are doing to help assist humans. I don't mean like, yes, our overlords are coming and but can we talk about something else? Like this boring dystopia has been happening since I've been a child, and I'm expecting more from the future.
Yeah, I want a different version, like robot aided luxury communism or something. That would be cool.
I have something that I love. It's Calendly, and I'm not doing an advertisement, so but I like the fact that a machine can handle my calendar and say no for me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it helps me, because normally if people ask me, I always fit them like earlier and earlier and earlier and later and later and later, and my days go crazy. Now I have a gatekeeper. I have a machine.
A machine says no.
Yeah. And it was actually one of my slogans when I started working for myself. I was like, no is a complete sentence. Martin?
Yeah.
2020 for me has been, I have no control over this roadmap. That's the best way I can put it. Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is what is an SEO developer? Because this is a real question people want to know. So
that's an interesting one. Yeah, I have a feeling that's such a weird thing. I think a lot of companies try to stretch their employees more thinly these days, and not just 2020, but I think that has been the case in the last 10 years, if not longer. At least for as long as I've been in the industry, which is at this point 16 years. I've seen that lots of companies are like, oh, I want an IT employee, which is basically doing all of the things. And that sometimes stretches into like, oh yeah, I need a website. So who do I need to hire? And I'm like, so you need to hire this person, this role. They're like, no. I want one person that does all of this. It's like backend, ops, security, design, copywriting, marketing, sales, UX, accessibility, SEO, everything. Yeah, everything. They want everything. And I'm like, there's no such person. Like, if they are an expert in one thing, they're not necessarily an expert in the other thing. I understand that you want T-shaped employees, and I kind of am trying to be a generalist with certain focus areas where I know more things. And my key skill is to be able to switch between these focus areas and acquire new ones, even if that means losing other ones. I was once really, really good with financial services and like financial information technology services. I'm no longer that, but I can read up on it and I'll be back at it. I'm really good at SEO, technical SEO right now, but maybe in 10 years I don't need that, and then that'll be forgotten, and then I can get it back when I need it. But SEO developers is pretty much it's the understanding that SEO and development do play together. But they are so broad and different that you can't find one person that does it all, I think.
So I'm going to finish with this by telling you the next question was actually from an HR person, I think, in Google. How do I write the job description for an SEO developer? So I don't think we need to answer that one, but I thought it was a very good insight you gave us. And
it was fantastic questions you gave us as well. and also glowing platypuses. I think that's like the episode subtitle.
Yes, I can actually bring on random animal facts. I have so many of them, and I think this will be a red thread in the show. So thank you for, oh, my husband made a little cameo here, but our time is almost up. So I hope we get to talk about some other things soon.
I do hope so as well.
So tell me, last question. Can you share on social media the web story you made regarding diving? Because I think we may talk about web stories next time.
Okay, I will do that. In that case, Miriam, thank you so much. And thanks for everyone watching. I hope that was fun, and it's definitely an interesting episode, and we hope that we will have a final version too.
Yes. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.